So, risk analysis. We will discuss some important questions related to risk analysis in food safety management systems and some other food safety related questions which are important for various exams related to food safety officers and others. Question 1. The safety of which of the following substances must be demonstrated prior to their introduction into food? Suppose you are going to introduce a substance into a food, you have to do some risk analysis, and those substances are pesticides, chemicals, substances migrating from food packaging. So many food packagings like plastic packagings and other packagings materials, they do migrate some substances. You have to do risk analysis for those packaging material and color additives. All these need to go through risk analysis, so that you can say that whatever the substances you introducing, they are safe for human consumptions. These are all, this risk analysis is done to prevent any kind of bad chemicals or substances which are harmful to the public or for the human. Next question. Toxicity and dose response data from animal studies together with data of which of the following types are used to evaluate the safety of a food substance? To evaluate the safety of a food substance, what data you need? Along with the first, you need what? Dose response data from animal studies. This you need compulsory. It is you need to put that substance into animals, and you will study what is the impact, what is the effect to that animals. Apart from that, you need another data. What is that? The daily intake of the substance by human consumptions through food. So how much quantity of that particular substance is going into human through food? That is also one important question, because the level of dose, or what is the amount that human is consuming, that is also a big important thing, and that can cause bad effect. If it is a larger quantity, then there is a special response. So these two data, one is a dose response data from animal studies, and one more data is what? The quantity of food substances daily, how much the person or anyone is taking through food. That is this is the two important datas. Okay, then next questions. Doses of substances used in animal toxicity studies are usually many times greater than those experienced by people. See, when we do study in dose response through animal toxicity studies, what happens? There is a greater response in case of people. The same study, if you do in case of people, the effect usually many times greater. Okay, the doses of substances used in animal toxicity studies are usually many times greater than those experienced by people, because such test can detect only very large risk, because of the fact that only small numbers of animals can be used. We can use small numbers of animals, so such test can detect only very large risk. Okay, so the doses of substances used in animal toxicity studies are usually many times greater, because we have very low numbers of animals per study. Okay, that's why we have dose more larger doses. Okay, that is the reason we need larger doses when we are going for what animal toxicity studies. Okay, then next questions. Observational epidemiology studies. What is epidemiology? It is a study between the disease and the food what we eat. What is the basic relationship between the food and the disease we are facing? Is there any correlations between food and the disease? So this is observational epidemiology. Studies have produced useful in identifying health effects of many food contaminants, but not for assessing risk, because reliable dose response data are difficult to acquire and often unavailable. We don't have sufficient data, reliable, and it is not reliable dose response data are difficult to acquire and often unavailable for all the substances, all kinds of additives, all kinds of chemicals, all kinds of pesticides. We don't have proper dose response data, and it is not also available properly. So what happens, the observational epidemiology studies have produced useful in identifying health effects of many food contaminants, but not for assessing risk. Assessment of risk is not happening. Okay, because the reliable dose response data are difficult to acquire and often unavailable. Okay, then next questions. Risk assessment is applied to data on toxicity and human exposure to what, to estimate the likelihood or probability of toxicity of toxic effect on exposed humans. So what we do risk assessments for what, it is applied to data on toxicity and human exposure to estimate the probability or likelihood of a toxic effect on exposed humans. What is the level of effect? It is the probability, what may happen, what is the probability after having that food or after having that substances through food. Then next questions, a food additives is considered to be safe when estimated daily intake from its presence in food is less than ADI. ADI means what? It's what, acceptable daily intakes, which is nothing but the accepted level of their substances which can be taken lifetime without having any risk of bad health effect. So estimated daily intake EDI from its presence in food is less than its ADI. So whenever a food additive is considered to be safe, when we consider it is safe, because estimated daily intake, total estimated daily intake is less than ADI, means acceptable daily intake. See, when a substance is present in ADI and you are taking that substance less than ADI, then it is a risk free, because acceptable daily intakes itself does not create a health impact if you are taking that food lifetime. So there is no problem if you are taking food if it is present in the level of EDI, estimated daily intake. So then only we can call a food substance or food additive is safe. Okay, then risk management for chemical contaminants. Risk assessments for risk management for chemical contaminants of food generally relies on what? Prohibiting the introduction into commerce food containing contaminants at levels greater than a specified level a risk based MRL or tolerance. So the main purpose of doing risk management for chemical contaminants of food relies on what? Prohibiting the introduction into commerce food containing contaminants at levels greater than specified level. So the main purpose is to prohibit that contaminant into the food, into the commercial food processes, so that there is very less chance of public health issues. Okay, that is the main purpose of doing risk management of chemical contaminants. Then next is nutrients may pose health risks. A substance, a nutrient, or any food substance, nutrient that can pose health risk when it intakes, how much you are taking exceeds established upper levels. Established upper level, that is there is a upper level for any nutrients, and that established upper level is less than what intakes, whatever you are taking inside, or whatever you are taking food as a food, that can cause a risk, that can cause a health risk. Nutrients may pose health risks when we when the intake is exceeds then upper level. Okay, then next questions, food allergies. See, food allergies where you are taking reading in risk management, because allergy is also a kind of risk. Allergy is also a kind of risk, and it is so. Food allergies usually occur only after an individual has been sensitized by prior exposures. Your immune system is already sensitized with some knots. Then when you are taking the knots again, your immune system has recognized that knots as a enemy for your body. Then what happens? An allergy will be developed. So there is a need of sensitizations, prior exposure is there. So a food allergy is usually occur only after an individual has been sensitized by prior exposure. Next question, the most common causes of foodborne illness in the United States and Europe are salmonella and campylobacter. Salmonella and campylobacters are major foodborne, they are major causes of foodborne illnesses. Okay, so we have understood some important questions related to risk management, sorry, risk analysis. Then next questions related to risk management. So the first thing, what is Hssp? Hssp defined as what? That you have to know. As per Codex, Hssp defined as it identifies the risk, it evaluates the risk, and controls the risk or the hazards. Hazards is associated with the risk, so it identifies, evaluates, and controls the hazards. Hazards is what? Something which can cause, which has some potential to cause any harm, or which has the potential for creating some risk. So that HSCCP does what? It identifies, evaluates what is the level, what can cause, what is the level of its impacts, then control the hazards to the optimum or acceptable limit. Okay, so the right answer is C. Next question, risk assessment, risk management, risk communications are part of what? It is the part of risk analysis. This risk assessment, risk management, risk communications, all are parts of risk analysis. Okay, then next, the efficacy of Hssp systems relies on what? Both management and employee. Then risk assessment comprises of what? Hazard identifications, then hazard characterizations, risk characterizations, all are involved in risk assessment. Then which of these is true? Critical control point needs to be monitored. Correct. Critical limit is set for CCP to keep in check. This is also point. Correct one. Then corrective action to be taken at time of any non-conformance. Suppose any non-conformance, any food which is not coming in the standards, that is non-conformance. So in that case also you need to develop corrective actions so that that same problem will not occur again. Then critical limit is set for CCP to keep in check. Critical limit is set. Beyond that critical limit, there is a non-conformance. Then critical control point needs to be monitored. CCP should be monitored whether the CCP is properly working or not. Critical control point is properly working or not. That all things are required in order to mitigate, in order to remove, or in order to prohibit, or in order to prevent any kinds of hazards. Okay. Then next, records help maintain what? It help to do what? It deviation in the process. If there is any deviations in the process, then the records will say that there is a deviations, and that deviation should be what? Corrected. So records are important to check any kinds of deviations. Okay. Then next question is, which of this is a prerequisite program or called PRP? See, validation is not a part of prerequisite program. GMP and GHP are prerequisite programs because these are the basic conditions in order to develop a food safety management systems. So prerequisite programs are GMP and GHP, good hygienic practices and good manufacturing practices. Okay. Next, in food factory, the ISO 22000 is for what? It is for managing the food safety. How the food safety is managed and what is the level, what standard it should be, that is this. Okay. Then which of these is corrective action for food recall for unsafe food products? So food recall is also a part of food safety management systems. But what corrective actions you can do? You can either destroy the, so after receiving the recalled product, or that is called unsafe product, you can do what? You can either destroy the product, you can replace the product, or you can alter the product so that the food can be called safe. Then which of these is a class 1 recall? Class 1 recall is that recall where the hazard that cause serious health consequences of or death, that case is called class 1 recall. So class 1 recall is there, class 2 recall is there. Class 2 recall is what? Food will not or is not likely to cause adverse health consequences. This is class 2 recall. So class 1 recall is what? Where there is a chance of death or serious health consequences. Okay. Then audit to be carried out for what? To help improvement of quality. See, in food safety management systems, you need to do audit also, so that you can improve the quality. That is also important. Okay. Then quality is defined by Juran is what? Fitness for intended use. Then which of the following is not an example of verification? So routine hygiene monitoring is a part of verification. Then analysis of customer complaint is also a part of verification. CCP complaint checks, these are all parts of verifications, but trials to standardize the amount of sodium benzoate in the ketchup is not a verifications. Okay, that is different. That is for uh, a, estimating the shelf life of the food product, all those things that we do. Okay, so that is very. Then food safety management system consists of what? Prerequisite programs, PRP, it constitutes HACCP principles, system elements, all of the above, all are having FS, MS. So this is food safety management system. Next, to raise a non-conformities, there must be what? A failing, a requirement, and evidence. So all of these are required for raising a NC or non-conformity. Next, HACCP has shifted emphasis from end product inspections and testing to what? To preventive control of hazards at all stages of food productions, all stages of food. So, HACCP is to prevent control of hazards, not the testing of end product after the product is produced. If you are going to do the testing whether the product is having any hazards or any risks, then what is no use, all the product has been dispatched. But the as a main purpose is to do what? Preventive control of hazards, that is the main purpose. Okay, so it has shifted from end product testing to preventive control. Next, which method is used in HACCP to identify the CCPs? It is what? Decision tree method. By that, you can identify the CCP. So, with this, we have understood many questions related to food safety management systems, risk analysis. Okay, so thank you a lot.